Hey everyone, welcome back to Five for Friday. It's Friday, January 6th. I'm so happy to be back after a long December with sales and holidays and catching a cold. Very happy to be back. I do have a recording of an interview that I did in early December with David Mizrahi of FM Home Loans, and with mortgages being crazy, being rising the fastest rate that they ever rose in history. David is a great resource to connect with and have. And here I am just introducing David to my audience. I hope that you enjoy. He's a great guy with over 20 years of experience. And here we are. Enjoy and have a great weekend. Hi, everyone. We have David Mizrahi from FM Home Loans. David, thank you again for coming. I really appreciate your time. I've worked with David for a while now. I think he's so amazing, and he's a gentleman, someone that I value in my business, that I could always reach out. And so I wanted to ask David a few questions. And I wanted to know, David, how did you get started in the mortgage industry? Like, what got you into it?
So funny you ask. When I was 17, as a senior in high school, I needed a couple of dollars to go out with my friends, and I ended up going to work for a mortgage company as a secretary.
Amazing. Okay, as a secretary, which company? Who?
It was a subsidiary of SI Bank and Trust. It was called Ivy Mortgage.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, and I was there for a couple of years. I started out as a secretary, and after being on the phone for a while, helping out a lot of the loan officers that weren't really so attentive and being so responsive to their clients, the sales manager came over to me and said, "We're going to let you go as a secretary, but we're going to rehire you as a sales guy."
Amazing, amazing. So you must have been great over the phones.
Yeah, I was really good on the phone. Yeah, it was one of my things.
Incredible. And in person too. So along the way, I mean, what year was this?
2001.
Oh my God, 2001. So 21 years. We started at 17. Oh my God. I'm just thinking, like, you look so young. Along the way, you're now a salesperson, right? And you've lasted for 21 years. At this point in your career, what do you do in your role?
So right now, I'm the director of sales for FM Home Loans. I'm always in sales. I love sales. Sales for me is, what I do best. It's been what I've been doing since I was a kid, literally. But right now, one of the things that I do is form relationships and help out with the loan officers with helping them grow their business, but also at the same time helping out my agents and everyone with building their audiences and making sure that their clients are fully understanding of what's going on in the situation. Because when buying a home, it's as exciting as can be, but it's also as nerve-wracking as can be, and anxiety and every emotion comes into it.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, I have to speak to each client individually, and for me, it's just making sure that they understand what the next steps are, so that they could go and better themselves.
Well, I know you as a mortgage broker. I reach out to you with questions and with clients, but I didn't know, how many people do you oversee?
Well, probably in regards to with the loan officers and processors and everything, probably about 15 or 18 people.
Wow, you're so much. I didn't even know this. Okay, so how many, let's say, sales agents?
About 8 or 9.
Okay, and then you have data entry section, loan processors?
Yeah, processors, a couple
Wow.
processors, assistants, juniors, things like that.
So if anyone reaches out to you, you have support staff, you have people on it, you're like...
Yeah, I'm a control
amazing,
freak. I have a
amazing.
good team because I wouldn't be able to, there's so many moving parts in the mortgage industry, I wouldn't be able to be available for the clients if I had to go and deal with all the processing side.
Yeah, because one of the reasons I invited you over is I know so many lenders, and it's so hard to get, I would say white glove service. You're always around, you're always available, and you always have help or someone reaching out to me to answer my questions. So I really appreciate it. Wow, so 21 years in the business, you're overseeing 21 people.
Almost,
it's a number here that we're talking about. How, per year, I don't know if we can sort of discuss this, but like, how many people have you helped in your career so far? Like, how many clients or customers is it?
A few thousand families we've probably helped, at least more. I mean, it depends. I mean, Yeah, I mean, in regards to me personally, yeah, I mean, if you add the team and
Yeah,
everything, there's probably tens of thousands. Like, it's
get
really
out of here.
nice. Yeah,
Wow, that's
between new homes and helping them refinance, getting the better payments. So,
incredible. And you're here in my office. Thank you. Thank you for spending the time. So, okay, so this is now news to me. All right. You're personally helping thousands of people through your team. You're helping tens of thousands of people.
yeah.
And you're taking the time to meet my audience. I really appreciate it. So that's got to be a huge workload. It's also got to be a huge responsibility.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely not a 40-hour week.
yeah. So I always ask people, what drives you to achieve so much? I mean, I always touch upon family, but like, are there any reasons why you work so hard to be, the person you are?
Yeah, I mean, growing up, my father, had a bit of a bumpy road, but definitely a lot of highs, unfortunately, a lot of lows. So for me, even when I have my highs, I always strive for more because I always know there is a rainy day.
Yeah.
And so for me, I always kind of, I have three words that I live by, and stay the course. And for me, I always focus when I'm in work on work. Of course, my family comes first, second, and third.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, when you're in work, sometimes you have to really focus on that mainly because if you don't, then the family, unfortunately,
Yeah.
is going to have an issue.
Don't take anything for granted.
No, no, not at
Yeah,
all. But also
absolutely.
at the same time, it's just nice. I deal with so many different families, and I get so many text messages a day when people are closing. Thank you so much. This was beautiful. And they refer me to their kids now and to their family, and for me, that's really what I love, because if I can make someone feel comfortable, and I always tell this, because 100% of my business is referred to me, and I always tell the person who's referred to me, my goal is to make you love me as much as the person who referred me to you.
Yeah.
And because that's really what it's about. It's about the relationship of that client.
See, that's the underlying theme with everyone that I like working with. I can feel like your intention is good. Where it's all about keeping a good relationship and helping people.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that's why I invited you over, and I didn't expect you to come, but thank you. Okay, we're here to help people. Along the way, it couldn't have been easy. Were there any books or coaches or mentors, anyone that if there was a mentor, would you want to tell us who he is so we can thank him? Or, what
Well, I had a bunch of
helped you?
mentors. I mean, it's not one person. I always say I'm one of 10, but I'm me mostly. In regards to what helped me, just unfortunately, like I said, I started in 2001, and in 2008 there was a crash, and the mortgage industry was forefront of it. So one thing I always remember is around that time where I was working for a company, and I was kind of married to their marketing budget. And one thing I know is I have a great personality and I have a good attitude, and I have a good understanding of the mortgage industry for sure.
Yep.
So I said, I'm not going to go and deal with so much of leads and marketing. I want to go with relationships. So when that company closed down, I noticed so did my income with it.
Yep.
So I went into relationship building, and I went into different types of books. I mean, you have a couple of them here, Atomic Habits, The Art of Not Giving So Much stuff, Who Ate My Cheese, The 7 Habits of Very Successful People. There's just a couple books that I'm not remembering, but that are awesome. But I'm missing one that I really love.
No, it's okay.
But, for me, it's just in regards to just watching so many people go up and down, I kind of like to stay on a trajectory where it's a very nice playing field going upwards, not with this, not this way, just upwards. And I think for me, that's really the big thing, because I always make sure that my clients are put first, my relationships, because also when you're dealing with someone's roof over your head, there's nothing more personal and there's nothing more business to that client.
Yeah.
So they might not understand anything about buying a home, which is one thing we're going to help educate people on.
Right.
But they don't. But they know real from not. They know a person that really cares that doesn't care. So if you could put a person that cares with good knowledge and good education, then that will probably result into a good deal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, yeah, with all that said, people can sense it all the time. All the time. If you're level-headed and you know your thing, you're experienced, and you're not pushing them, they trust you and they'll let you lead. Along the way, I mean, I know it wasn't easy, especially during the market crash in 2008, but were there any key moments, like besides the market crash, or maybe you can get into it, a key failure or a key downtime that like sort of pivoted you into who you are today?
Yeah, it was probably when I had my first child and I was broke.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but I always say, because unfortunately I got married in 2007 when the whole market crashed. So I always told my wife she was the curse, but my daughter, she was the blessing. It's all right. I tell her this to her face, so it's fine. But she knows, no, she's my love. But
Yeah.
my daughter was when everything kind of started changing for me, and I started changing the way I started doing my business. In regards to how I did it, because I knew that I knew how to get a mortgage done, but the problem was is that I needed to build an audience and I needed to build relationships, but also at the same time, I wanted to work for a company that was able to provide unbelievable rates and unbelievable fees, because I was always working for someone that gave either a great rate, but not the best service, or a great service, but then not the great rate. So
Right.
that's when I came to this company about 9 years ago. So
Right. You pay for what you get.
yeah,
And you get what you pay for.
for sure.
All right. So along the way, talking in practical terms, are there any tools or habits, because you work hard? I mean, I know a lot of people, and you put in more hours than most.
Yeah.
Is it sleep, gym? What would you attribute your success
To a routine.
to a routine? Yeah, I visited your office once for a little bit. Can you tell me the system you use?
So, I mean, I'm old school, as you saw. I have paper all over the place. So, I don't suggest this to anyone going forward. I mean, I'm just been doing this forever.
No, but tell them why you use this, because
it's just, a paper you can't, doesn't fail any, there's no power outlet on paper. You could do it anywhere, but it's just the way I do it. I mean, that's the only answer for it. I mean, people, the big thing is having a system.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a perfect system. It doesn't have to be someone else's system. It just has to be a system that works for you. Because what works for me doesn't work for most people. And I wouldn't suggest it on most people. But I understand it and I have it down to a science. It is,
Guys, he is so meticulous with his paperwork, and everything is a hard copy. You can feel it. It's in front of you.
Yeah.
You can see it on your desk. He doesn't lose a single client, and he doesn't lose a single detail.
I know that's why I even brought my folder
Oh
here with
my
me,
God.
because I wouldn't leave it in my car.
I feel like my office is too clean, but still, regardless, like I get it, and I admire all that hard work, because there's a lot of writing that you
It is,
you
and
do.
sometimes I'm doing it while I'm driving. I'm doing it while I'm everywhere. But the good thing is that for me, because sometimes you speak with somebody who wants to buy a home,
Yeah.
but they're not ready for any reason, credit or income or assets, whatever the case may be, and but they're interested, but they might not be interested now. So when you follow up with them in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever the case may be, I have clients that I'm going to actually follow up with them in a year and a half from now.
Yeah.
I have a client that I'm following up with 2 years from now because I'm waiting for a foreclosure.
He never forgets about you.
Yeah.
And he doesn't drop a single detail. He captures every single detail, and they're important. They're all important. So
It is, because I hate the person who is in sales, and it doesn't have to be real estate, it could be any sales, where they follow up with a client and they don't really, I always say, it's just, hey, how's everything? You ready to buy a home? Or you ready to sell a home? Or you ready to buy this? Or you ready to buy... It's not like, oh, so last time we spoke, you were working on this. How's everything? Like even with a client, I'll give them recommendations. Fix your credit, fix your this, fix your that. And then I'll follow up with them. Hey, so we went over about paying off this, this, and that. How is everything going?
Yeah.
Because sometimes they need more time. Sometimes they're ready to do it, but they just can't do it because something else came up.
Yeah.
So, and when you do it that way, since they're not ready now, what you're doing is you're building a relationship anyway. And that's why I write everything down, because, even with a client, today I reached out to all my clients to wish them a happy birthday from the weekend and today, and I sent them a quick text message, happy birthday,
Yeah.
the little things.
Yeah.
And one of the clients wrote to me, very nice text, and so you could, just, thank you so much, David. It's always been a pleasure, and I always appreciate you. I can't wait to give you some more business.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I try to impart is if you really care about the relationship, you really will deliver white glove service. People talk about white glove service, But white glove service is being meticulous with every detail and remembering it and caring about it.
Yeah, because my CRM system sends them an email anyway, happy birthday. But I said, you know what? I like to send them personal text messages, just because anyway, I like just to, I haven't spoken with them. We just dealt with some of the biggest investment of their life, and right now they're at a different stage. And, we kind of might have lost touch because life happens.
Right.
And that's totally fine. It is with me also. But at the end of the day, it's nice to just reconnect as a human being and not have anything to say in regards to what's going on, in regards to you need a mortgage. Just how are you?
Yeah.
It's just sometimes people want to hear, how are you?
That should
I'm
always
great.
come first.
And that's it. And then great. And then you know what? In the future, when they have a question, they're going to reach out anyway.
Absolutely.
But it's not good to be in someone's face, and nor do you want someone in your face.
Words of wisdom, guys. I'm gonna leave it at this, but I want to know if there's anything that you could say to, let's say, future mortgage brokers or people that are just going on their own journey of wanting to be successful, wanting to have a good life, wanting to help their community. What would you say to them if you could say it in a billboard or say it in a one line?
What I always tell everyone, it's something I live by, and as you know, I do a lot of trainings and a lot of events, is education. Educate yourself, because especially when you're dealing with real estate, the client is more educated today than they were 20 years ago. They're more educated than 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, I'll tell you that much. But the thing is that there's still so many moving parts. There was never someone to ever teach them how to buy a house or get a mortgage. But, someone in our industry, I would tell them, get as educated, as well-rounded as possible, because something like we're going to do a first-time home buyer webinar. Why? Because sometimes people need to understand what they need to get themselves ready for in the future. Because when that time comes and they fall in love with a home, they don't want to call up a bank and say, hey, I'm going to send you A, B, and C. And the bank says, oh, I'm sorry, you don't qualify. Or you qualify, but your credit scores are a little bit lower than you were saying. So now the interest rates are a little bit higher. So now if they could set themselves up for the future now, they'll give them a better leg to stand on, and also they get they get rid of the fear of the unknown. They know what's going to be in the future, and they could set themselves up for that. So
go out of your way to study something even before you're ready to use it. There's so many people that want to go buy a house, but they never talk to a mortgage lender, and so they don't know all the details and the delicate
only
things
what they Google.
Correct. And so if they had that extra time, if they had 6 months to a year to have that conversation with a mortgage lender and purchase a home in a year, they'd be so better prepared.
For sure. Perfect example. I had a client in my office today. I spoke with the dad. He wanted to buy a home. Unfortunately, couldn't qualify by himself. So he said one of his sons are going to join him. I went over everything. I said, wow, you're very close. You almost qualify for this property. I said, but just out of curiosity, you're buying this 2-family home. We could use the rental income. Anyone else going to be living with you? He goes, well, my other son. And he said, but he doesn't want to join us for the mortgage. So he said, but we could have to figure this out. Can we figure this out? So I said, do me a favor. Can I speak with your son?
Yeah.
So I got on the phone with his son, and I had a quick conversation. So he came to my office today with his father and all his documents. And what I told him was, you're worried about buying a home in the future. If you co-sign on this home, you can't buy on a home in the future. Is that what you're thinking? He said, yeah. I said, well, that's a great thought. And he said, I read it online. I spoke with a friend. They said, well, there's a guideline. If you co-sign for your dad, and your dad makes all the mortgage payments for 12 months on time out of his checking account, if you have 12 months of canceled checks showing dad makes the payments out of his checking account, it counts as zero for you. So if the mortgage payment was $2,000, $4,000, $20,000 a month, it counts as zero.
No one knows that.
No one knows that. So when I told him that, he said, so I could go and get my family into a home now and get them to own a home and still not hurt myself in the future.
Right.
I said, yes, sir. So he said, once I told him that, he came to my office, he brought all the documents. Together, they are totally qualified because he was the missing piece. He made almost close to $100,000 per year.
Right.
So thank God he's doing great. And then with dad and with the son,
they're able to own a home.
They're able to buy a home, and they don't have to pay the crazy amount of rent that they're paying right now.
There's so many things to getting a mortgage, purchasing a home that David can help. And I'm learning, I've learned so much from him, also other lenders, of course, but I've learned so much from David. And David, does it cost anything to sit down and talk with you? I know time is very important for you, but do you charge just a consultation fee? No. If I wasn't ready to purchase a home today, but I wanted to talk to you and I wanted to get a pre-approval, does it hurt me?
No.
It doesn't hurt me, right?
No.
If I wanted to see what I qualify for a mortgage today, we go through everything. Does my credit score get hurt?
No, if you run your credit here and there, a lot of people think when you run your credit, it crashes your scores.
Yeah.
And it couldn't be further from the truth. Now, I'm not telling you to go run around and have a million people run your credit, but running your credit here and there, because if that was the truth, then no one would ever be allowed to shop around for anything. Because once you run your credit, the next person's going to have a much lower credit score running your credit, and that means they could offer you a higher rate because they already know that the next
Just
one.
don't go applying for a credit card and an auto loan and
Correct.
this and that.
You don't want to take on new debt.
If you want to know what you can do today or if what you can do in a year from now, they should just talk to a lender. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah.
And they'll know more. They'll be better prepared for when they're ready if they're not ready today.
Yeah. And that's really sometimes it's a little things. Quick story, I had a client who, she wanted to buy a home with her parents. Her parents came here a little bit late, and they're old school. They're basically all cash. They don't have any credit. They've been in the country for about 20 years, and she was saying, I can't qualify them because I have no credit.
Yeah.
So I said, don't you have any credit cards? She said, yes. I said, does your husband have any credit cards? They said, yeah. I said, how many do you have altogether? She goes, 5. I said, do me a favor. I'm adding those credit cards anyway to the debt. All those credit cards, add your parents as authorized users to each one of them. And within 30 to 60 days, they'll have credit scores.
Easy.
Because all of those then show up on their credit report as if they had it for 5, 10, 15 years.
And guys, just in case, if you know anyone who needs credit repair or help, David or other educated lenders, but David is really one of the best. He'll just give you advice in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and if I can't do it, I'll refer you to a credit repair company that is good because there are a lot of bad credit repair companies out there. But generally, if you just followed my advice and you do what I say, you really don't need to pay them. But sometimes you might need them for negotiations or removing something that was supposed to maybe maybe you could get removed.
If you need specialists. But the idea is that a mortgage lender wants to see you succeed, especially a good one like David. And without turning this into a commercial, I just really appreciate you being here.
My pleasure.
And maybe we have to do this again because I think people need to know you on a personal level, and I always love talking with you. And again, guys, if you have any questions, reach out to David. I'll put his information in the show notes. And we're going to have a webinar in 2 weeks, just everything about mortgages and also some details on how to find a rate that you've never heard of. Because there are things out there that really are designed to help you buy today, even when rates are at 7%, 8% for some people.
Yeah. There's a 2-1 buy down. There's there's just a lot of different programs you could look at. 10-year ARMs. I mean, we can go over a bunch of different ways, but I always say every client is unique to them, to their own situation. Once I review everything with them, I'll basically see what makes sense for them as a whole, and where they should be, because sometimes, like I work with the anesthesiologists of New Jersey. They all make $500,000 plus. They don't all walk into my office saying, I want to buy a $2 million home. Right. Some want to buy homes for all price points, 500, 300, 800. Some have just crazy lifestyles. Some don't. Some, have, a lot of children that go to crazy schools and camps and this and that. Some don't. So, we look at everything because that's something that doesn't show up on a credit report and doesn't show up on debt to income ratio, but that shows up in life.
And just for the first-time home buyers, there's not one type of mortgage. There's so many different types. Correct. And so many different things that you can learn that could help you in your situation. So, a lot of people out there think that there's only just one type of conventional loan.
No, there's Fannie, Freddie, FHA,
and you'll find some benefits specifically to your situation. So I implore you guys to join next, 2 weeks from now, our webinar, and I'll put the link below. David, thank you again for coming. I always appreciate your time, and guys, see you soon.